Why, hello there. Hi, how are you? ciaranmcmahon here. How are you doing today? This is me just telling you a little bit about Alchemy Communications. What is it that I do? I bring people into a workshop setting, and from all the work I've done teaching stand-up comedy and improvised comedy, I have now brought that into teaching public speaking skills and connecting people together with interactive exercises that people can actually, learn to communicate in a playful way while also learning all the skills and attitude and knowledge necessary to create a good presentation and style of communication that is very natural to them and removes all the anxiety and the fear that helps them give them skills and tools to get over that anxiety and fear and be a better communicator. So I'm going to try and share my screen. I know it's always spooky when you do this, but let's give it a go. Right. Hopefully you can see this. This is what I do. Communication and stand-up comedy. I can do 1 day weekly workshops or modular workshops of a full day or even a 2 day immersive workshop for your group or team. So this is a group I worked with in Munich. And some of them were Toastmasters people, some of them were comedians, but they all got something from the group because some of them are IT professionals who spend their whole day sitting behind a laptop. So there was a variety of different skills and confidence levels. Some of them were like professional improvers. Some of them were absolutely first timers to any kind of presentation and public speaking. So, but each one of them were involved in a group setting where they all managed to integrate with each other. And through the various different exercises, they managed to actually get to a position where they're working and having fun together while also learning all the skills necessary to be able to step up and speak within the group, in front of the group, and also to do public speaking in a better way, right? So they're the kind of things I do. I do weekly workshops. So, for example, if I was to take the 6 week program of the stand-up comedy workshops, I would do a 3 hour course either online or better still, Lord knows, face to face is much more fun. And what I'm doing is actually breaking down all of the elements of a 6 minute presentation. So I'll do 3 hours with people every week. And the first week will be for the first minute on stage, all the things that you need to know in terms of preparation, walking up, getting ready, and then standing there and introducing yourself. That first moment where they either like you or they don't. And then gradually, over the course of those 6 weeks in those 3 hour modules, they'll be building up and getting them to write their own material. And ultimately, then at the end of the 6 week course, they do a presentation of, like, say, minute for every week. So it could be 5 to 6 minutes where they just come on, they introduce themselves, they present themselves, and they can do it in a funny way because everybody knows what it is to kind of give people a little bit of information. And it's a very short step to actually just communicating and connecting with a little bit of humor as well. So weekly workshops, 1 day workshops, I can take people from we say everywhere from schools to private and personal, also then to corporate groups where you just need a reward for all the hard work they've done. And what better way to hone their skills and get them much more relaxed and integrated, where they're confident to communicate with each other better. And also, then it's a short step for them to present to the group and also then to move into public speaking with all the skills, attitude, and knowledge that you need to sort of get over those bumps of anxiety and the fear and being able to come up and connect on stage in a way that's kind of playful. Because if it's playful, then they're much more natural when they're up there because there's no risk of having to get it right. It's actually, you can make mistakes and it's fun. And that kind of gives them a good experience that they're left with after they do this. So who am I? Well, I've been teaching stand-up, public speaking, and improvised comedy for over 20 years. I'm a qualified trained a trainer, QQI trainer. And like so I what I did in that course was to learn all the different styles of learning. I'm one of these people that likes to be thrown in the deep end and find my own way. Other people like all the baby steps and like really have goals set that they can make the steps one by one and slowly progress. So All of my courses are backed up with slides, and all the interactions and exercises that we have are done in baby steps so that very quickly people are being very natural and it moves progressively in a very gentle way where everyone's involved and it's playful. There's none of this moment where everybody has to just suddenly stop, stand, and listen to you standing on stage. It's done in a very playful way that everybody's taking turns gradually to speak, starting with their name, moving to a minute, moving to 2, 3 minutes, and potentially then presenting at the end. That's the goal. Sometimes people are happy to do that. Some people want to shine. That's fine too. And others don't, right? So I'm not famous. I've been dabbling in comedy because comedy to me was the best way to find the skills necessary to be a better communicator. So all the time I've been dedicating to teaching workshops and teaching uh, communications, improv, and stand-up comedy, because ultimately it all ends up with you being a better communicator. So all I want to do is empower people to overcome their fear and be naturally good at speaking in front of people, you know? So it all started. I stepped on a small, smelly, grotty little stage, and ever since then, look how far I've come. I'm now a lecturer in TU Dublin. I do human dynamics and communications lectures there. And I also have been on stage in a variety of different forms, either hosting shows, generating shows, and also doing stand-up and improv myself. So I bring all of that kind of enthusiasm and fun to each workshop. So I try and make it as enjoyable for everyone as possible, you know. And comedy's on the rise. People are very connected with comedy. Ever since COVID, people have been downloading and watching specials online. And comedy is a kind of nice, friendly, fun way of connecting with people. And it immediately brings a kind of laughter and a sense of fun to it. And you're still learning all the skills, but you're doing it in a fun way. So these are some people who may have never done comedy before, started off brand new. Some people, like this girl at the bottom here, Breda, she won the Best Newcomer Award in 2025. And she's since gone on to do festivals in America, Irish American festivals. She's getting all the big gigs around Dublin and outside Dublin. And now she's getting paid gigs. So she's brought her experience that she's had already from acting. But then she discovered this connection of, you mean I can just be myself on stage? Oh my God, that's amazing. So she's the toast of Bantry in Cork, and she ended up on the Bantry Bugle on the front page. A rising star entered the funny business. So this is what happens. You just get together. I've done certain Salesforce is a good example. This was a team of yeah, they're basically they're a sales team that obviously work with clients on a regular basis and sometimes have to cold call and connect with companies. And as a reward, their boss who did my workshop brought me in to work with these guys. And they cooked to it like a duck to water because they realized it was playful and everything else, but they hadn't been challenged like this to do a stand-up course. And they still used all the tips that they would normally do in speaking to people, but suddenly this was a new dynamic, a new element to how they did it. And it became very playful, and they adapted to it so quickly that they really enjoyed the experience. And it made the team better for working together afterwards, that they were much more communicative with each other. So they were helping each other out and backing each other up. And it also improved then when they went on to sort of speak on a professional level, and also on a one-to-one with clients and everything else. They were more natural, they were more themselves, and they're better communicators. So I do this online. I can do 1 or 2 day workshops. It can take them out of their situation and bring them to a neutral venue, which I find really helps. And there's a much more immersive workshop where they're in somewhere else and they can really get something from this. As I said, I can also do online workshops where we take everybody online in the office and hopefully try and create the same atmosphere. So either way, there's different methods that I can apply to this. So they're the kind of things that I bring. An interesting thing was K-Fest here. They wanted to get local heroes to be a part and involved in the festival that they were running down there, the arts festival. So they volunteered. They asked for 6 or 7 volunteers. We ended up with 8 volunteers doing that online weekly workshop, and then I went down to Kerry. We had a warm-up workshop where we worked on skills for stagecraft, presentation, page to stage, and all of those. They'd written all their stuff gradually over the week, and then they went up in front of their local community and presented themselves and told their own story in a very funny way. The toast of the town, it was sold out. One of the icons of the festival every year now. So that's a potential event as well. You can get the local heroes from different pockets of your office or school, and one little hero might emerge, but each one of them gets the opportunity to sort of present at the end. So it's optional for the chickens, but it's also something that, when people do it, there's a great sense of achievement. And they bring it with them afterwards, and it leads back into what they do during the day, that they're far more communicative and interactive with each other. And it also helps them when they bounce up and start speaking publicly. So it removes that fear. It gives them the ability to sort of overcome the anxiety, gives them good tips for preparation and everything else, but also allows them to just be very natural on stage in themselves. So, yes, I've done Wexford Arts Centre, where similar module, where we kind of, did a modular thing over 6 weeks, and then we went down and presented in Wexford Arts Centre to the community. So it works in that way that other people see what they've done, they've known them beforehand, and then when they see them up there, there's a huge reward at the end of it if they manage to get to that level. Whether that's within the workshop itself and they present at the end, or whether they then go on to present to a wider group, or we'll say the rest of the office, or whatever it may be. So, how does it work? I do a gentle introduction, a few gentle slides, set out the stall, give them a few baby steps of what we're going to achieve. And I said, look, this is the ultimate goal. But if we get somewhere along the way, they're still learning all the skills as we go. So we break out into one-to-one groups where they're just telling each other their story, and then they present each other's story, things like that. And then there's also group exercises where everyone's involved. But it's always playful, it's always fun, but they're learning at the same time. And then ultimately that finishes, hopefully, with a 2, 3 minute presentation where they naturally have just gradually moved to a point where they can then present to the group itself, and then possibly to a wider group outside of the workshop. Yeah. So there's online experience, as I said, there's different modules, in-house, out-house, or outside Dublin, right? Weekly, one-off workshops, whichever way you want to do it. There's 1 day training or 2 day training where it's immersive, and we book a hotel, we book a room in there, a function room, and then we can do a presentation at the end. This is also something that you can actually record on video just for them to take away, and everyone gets the certificate, just so that people like these pieces of paper to say, I did this. And the amount of respect people get for doing stand up is unbelievable. People will say, oh, I could never do that. But ultimately, all it is being more natural on stage in front of people. So you just generate the natural skills that people have to communicate. So, as I said, I've won the Best Newcomer Award, my graduate, that is, over the last, say, 5 years. I think like 3 graduates have won in a row, for the last 3 years. So I must be doing something right. The interesting thing here is that this girl in the middle, Alice, she is a cat psychologist. I met her doing it. Entrepreneurial enterprise course in a postgrad in UCD, and she had great barriers to communicating. And she's now a professional speaker touring Ireland, presenting the psychology of cats, of all things. But through the encouragement I gave her in the stand up workshop, she just got better quicker and took all the tips on board and was able to sort of overcome those fears and really connect with an audience, because she is a naturally funny person and quirky as damned, but like also very fascinating. And it's just really going great for her. So Breda, as I said, the toast of Bantry, has now started to gig professionally and is now currently in the USA doing an Irish American festival. So the rooms are getting bigger, but she's still really enjoying herself because she made that click. Something clicked for her where she went, oh, you mean I don't have to be an actor and rely on everyone else's words? I can just have my own. And she just, burst out with her own personality instantly with that personality, the audience love her. Oh, that's me mother texting me there. I better shut up. Now, all I can say is, yeah, the variety of different people from absolute beginners to, highly trained sales teams, whatever it may be, there's something in this for everyone. And it's ultimately a reward for them. If they go and do this, they come away enthusiastic, energized, and grateful for having been given the opportunity to have just a fun day. They're still learning all the skills. They've done it in a way that's been fun and interactive from the start. So it bonds the group together. People are more interactive and also much more natural and friendly on stage, And, they can still do all the things that they normally do. They just do them in a more enjoyable way. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Here's some people that said wonderful things about me. By the end of the course, we spoke better, told better stories, and crucially, connected better with the audience. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to do is make those connections stronger. When you go out, you make that first connection. You don't get a second opportunity at a first. You don't get uh, you don't get a second opportunity at a first impression. Well, clearly, I made a mess of that. Um, so, what else? Yeah, lots of people said lovely things. Kieran's outstanding course coordinator, comedian who genuinely cares about his students. So, a lot of people who are professional speakers come to me to see, well, what does this fella have that nobody else has? And for example, one particular team's manager said, I've noticed a difference on and off stage in every facet of my professional and even personal life in the way he just knows better now how to make those connections and make that click, and that connection. So if your job is talking to people, talk to me. So, um, let's see. Yeah, there's lots of people said lovely things. Another example is Claire Milan here on the left, actor. In acting world, you get knocked back a lot of times. You might go for endless auditions, but what keeps you fresh and on your toes is when you're up on stage on a regular basis. You can do a weekly gig very easily, and people are seeing you. You're out there more, and she's been cast for things because she has some stand up experience, and she's going from strength to strength. And as usual with actors, it tends to be a very unnatural presentation of other people's words or even a different character. Whereas ultimately, you're cast usually for the character that you are, and, so you're just developing your own personality to be more natural on stage. So Alice was very funny. She texts me after each one of her performances and gigs. And recently she said, I don't know what you've done to me. I'm getting a radio show. I did their training. The tutor stopped me and said, did you do this before? She said, no, but I did something else before, stand-up comedy. So you can tell the skills are there. So yeah. Um, I've done some post gig interviews there with people. When they've just got off stage, they're amazed at what they've achieved because people really laugh when they get up on stage just for showing them the basic steps and tips that they need to make those connections. And if they're very small, they're easily learned, but they stay with you for life then. And it's a much more natural way of speaking and being yourself on stage. People find it easier when they discover that they can just be themselves. Who knew? So it's all about making that connection. As I said, the 6 week journey of incremental steps every week until eventually they're ready for a 5 to 10 minute presentation at the end. So you walk with them, you hold their hands, and eventually by the time they get there, they're well able to do it. So if this was something that interests you, by all means, communicate with me. Connect with me. There's all my deets, my Instas, my emails, my telephone number, and my LinkedIn. So you can pause this video because I don't have the technology to put it all flashy up on the screen and make it all dynamic. But thank you for listening to me. I'm hoping we can work together in the future. Many thanks. So, yes, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And thanks again for listening to me. Cheers. Bye bye now. Where's the button? Where's the button? I found the button. Thank you.